Tardy calling the meeting to order. In lieu of our opening prayer, I would ask, we have lost Commission on Aging board member Harry Leapsight. He passed last Friday. And Harry not only served on the Commission on Aging board, he was also a past board member of our Parks and Rec board. So in lieu of a prayer, I would ask us to rise and have a moment of silence and honor Harry Leapsight. Thank you. We'll rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bonnie, roll please.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Lathrop?
Here.
Kropa?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Klaus?
Here.
Max Bauer?
Here. Next order of business is the approval of the minutes. Anyone have any changes, corrections? Minutes stand approved. This is our first opportunity for public comment. Bonnie, if you would please read the rules.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. A, any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. B, no person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
All right. At this time, does anyone wish to make public comment? Please come forward. The mic is adjustable, so please.
Good evening. My name is Max Machuda. I live at 3792 Vista Park here in Traverse City. I am a resident and taxpayer of the county and also a local businessman that owns Radio North here in Traverse City. My concern is the board action that took place allowing the Motorola project for the new radio system at $3.some million. I requested a FOIA, went through the process and received all the information and went through that and reviewed it. We found out in that several vendors were requested to come in and display products and services during this whole evaluation process. Radio North, who currently maintains your 911 complex system throughout the county, was never notified or requested to come in and evaluate or show its products or give a cost or any representation thereof. In also reviewing it, we took a look at the paging system, which was an integral part of this process. In January 15th of this year, we were requested to provide a cost concept to the county 911 group to put in a simulcast paging system. That was $178,000 to put that system in, with all 6 sites being inside the integral part of the county. The county elected to purchase this system through Motorola at $457,000 with only 2 sites internal to this county. We all know that radio systems have a coverage area and have an issue of penetration. So the concern I have that I'm bringing to the board tonight is the process that everybody went through, and I know nothing about this other than we were totally excluded as a local vendor and supplier of quality communications equipment, even after we were requested to submit a bid. And then, how can the county at the same side spend over $800,000 to $900,000 more for a system than we could have provided at a base bid price with the state contract, not even asking for additional discounts at that point in time? That's the concern I have to bring to the board tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Okay. On to approval of the agenda. I would like to make 2 changes, please. Under old unfinished business, I would like to add county administrator selection. And I would like to move item 9C up to before 9A. We have some members of the public who probably don't want to sit through most of our meeting, and so we're going to be considerate of them, and we'll put the people who wish to talk about the memo of understanding regarding Parks and Rec and Eastlink Pool to the head of the line. Anyone else? Commissioner Kropa.
I'm going to ask to add a closed session to discuss the legal counsel's memo regarding the Interior Bureau of Indian Appeals decision and order.
All right. Anyone else? Staff? Public? Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Johnson, supported by Commissioner Crawford. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. On to the consent calendar. Ms. Bonnie.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar.
All right. Would any...
I'm not done.
I'm sorry.
It's a long one. It's a long one.
I don't know what I was thinking, Bonnie.
A, receive and file. Number 1, resolution in support of the Waterfront Community Revitalization and Resiliency Act of 2015, Bay County. Number 2, resolution recognizing September 17, 2015 as Constitution Day, Oceana County. Number 3, correspondence dated August 31st, 2015 from Department of Health and Human Services regarding state ward chargeback rates for 2016. Number 4, Board of Public Works Finance Committee minutes of May 14th. Number 5, Northern Nexus minutes of May 28th. Number 6, Board of Public Works Finance Committee minutes of July 2nd. Number 7, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes of July 7th. Number 8, Board of Public Works minutes of July 9th. Number 9, Pugsley Correctional Facility minutes of July 16th. Number 10, Planning Commission minutes of July 21st. Number 11, Department of Veteran Services minutes of July 23rd. Number 12, Department of Human Services minutes of July 31st. Number 13, Conservation Resource Alliance minutes of August 7th. Number 14, Board of Public Works minutes of August 13th. Number 15, Commission on Aging minutes of August 18th. Number 16, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health minutes of August 20th. Number 17, Collaborative meeting of August 27th. Number 18, Commission on Aging minutes of September 15th. Number 19, Intergovernmental Agreement for Law Enforcement Cooperation between the State of Michigan and the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians. B, approvals. The Public Health and Safety Committee recommends approval of the following. Number 20, resolution in support of the Traverse City Senior Center renovation. Number 21, lease agreement, Kingsley Adolescent Health Center. Number 22, Healthy Futures Services Agreement, Amendment Number 10. Number 23, Mental Health Services Agreement with Pine Rest for Youth Health and Wellness Center and K-Town. The Resource Management and Administration Committee recommends approval of the following. Number 24, G2G Cloud Solutions Credit Card Processing Services. Number 25, District Court Substance Abuse Assessment Vendor. Number 26, Resolution of Support of Department of Natural Resources Wildlife Division's acquisition of Tobago State Game Area Addition. Number 27, Strategic Planning Assistance Agreement. Number 28, Human Resource Director Classification Amendment. The Ways and Means Committee recommends approval of the following. Number 29, 2013-2015 Prime Rate Trunks Contract Extension. Number 30, Budget Adjustments.
Okay. Would any member of the public like any item removed from the consent calendar? Commissioners. Commissioner Klaus.
Number 26.
Number 26. Anyone else? Staff? All right. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended.
I'll second it. I make that motion.
Support.
Moved by Dr. Lathrop, supported by Commissioner Wheelock, to approve the consent calendar as amended. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. This takes us to our next order of business, which is special order of business, which is Miss Bonnie again.
Okay, you have in front of you a ballot to vote for a Republican and a Democratic canvasser. Linda Witt is our Republican canvasser currently on the board, and Lee Hornberger is our Democratic canvasser. They both, their terms expire the end of October. So you have 3 names on each side. These are not secret ballots. Your name is on the top of the ballot by law. So if you could just go ahead and mark your ballot, send it down to me, and under unfinished business, I will give you the results.
So we vote for one
Yes.
Republican and
One
one
on each
Democrat?
side.
One on
One
each side.
Republican, one
Republican,
Democrat.
one Democrat.
Should darken it to already crossed first, and then I read this.
Oh,
Oh, I did an X. I
doesn't
I don't follow instructions.
I'll be able to tell.
Say fill it in.
Fill it in.
reminds me of those tests we took when we were kids.
One I didn't use the right pen.
27 pages, you get the last
Use the
page
number
and it
two
says,
pencil.
put your name on the front
Be done with
Yeah.
in the test.
You need to mark the Democrat side.
What if I don't want to vote for a Democrat?
You have to vote for a Democrat.
All right.
We're having fun here. Okay. Do we wait for the results now?
I can give it to you under unfinished business if you want.
All right.
I'll just tally them up.
Okay, this brings us to items removed from the consent calendar. Commissioner Klaus.
As stated at the meeting when this was brought up, I just don't feel that the state needs to grab up our water frontage and our potential for development, or there's more money to be found in property taxes than what we're going to get on this here property from the state.
All right. Is there a motion to support the resolution in support of the DNR Wildlife Division's acquisition of Tobico State Game Area Edition?
So moved.
Support?
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Dr. Johnson. Roll call, please, Bonnie.
Lathrop,
No.
Kropa,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Klaus,
No.
Wheelock,
Yes.
Max Bauer.
No. Motion passes. Next on our agenda is Parks and Rec, MOU. Bridget? And Matt. I didn't see Matt. Hi. Please introduce yourselves.
Yeah, my name is Bridget Tente. I live in Holiday Hills in Traverse City.
Matt Cowell, 117 Homestead Court, Peninsula Township.
And thanks for having us tonight. The item on the agenda is a MOU between the county and Friends of Easling Pool, who we represent. We want to withdraw the MOU tonight so that we can have our ducks in a row, so to speak, a little bit better, and bring it to you at a later date when we think you would agree to it a little more. Before we go into the MOU, I just want to give you a little background of what we've been doing as Friends of Easling Pool. Last June, really May, word got out that the county wanted to close the pool. The commissioners wanted to close the pool, and I get it. I mean, you have a budget you have to deal with. And so Friends of Easling Pool, which is comprised of just volunteers, of pool users and pool supporters. Some people have grandkids who use the pool for swim lessons. Decided to see if there truly was a need for this pool. So what if we close the pool? Who would care? So we organized a public forum. It was June 15th of this past summer. And invited people who use the pool to come and tell us what the pool means to you. Chris Erickson compiled numbers of who in the county is using the pool. And we have a lot of qualitative data that we got from that meeting. We had over 130 people show up at that meeting in June. And many people spoke from their heart on how much the pool means to them. We had water aerobics ladies who will tell you that the pool is the only form of exercise that they can do. They take their walkers up to the edge of the pool and they get in the pool and they exercise. And if it weren't for those 3 times a week exercise sessions at the pool, they would be in bedridden. We had the Coast Guard come and tell us how important it is for his rescue swimmers to train there. We had TBAISD, that's the #1 user group who uses the pool. They logged, last year they logged 126 sessions where they rented out the pool for their special needs kids. We have Special Olympics, the list goes on and on, who uses the pool. So after that meeting, we decided as Friends of Easing Pool, look, this is something worth saving. We asked Jay Buckmaster, if the pool closes, could the Y absorb all of these people who use our pool? And he said, no. So we thought, okay, what's wrong with the pool? Why is it hard to keep it open? Why do the county commissioners, think that they can't keep it open? We boil it down to 2 issues. One is it has some capital needs. It's an old pool. It needs some upgrades in different areas. 2, the county doesn't want to be in the business of running a pool. As you know, Parks and Rec doesn't operate anything except the pool. They rent out the ball fields, they rent out the hockey rink, etc. But they run the pool. And they don't want to be in that business anymore. So those are 2 issues. And both of them this summer have had progress in resolving those. Friends of Easing Pool wants to take care of the capital issues. In June, we were told that rough estimates come in at $1 million worth of capital improvements that need to be made to the pool. We have done research, we've contacted people, we've done a lot of homework, and we've boiled that number down to 200,000. So we reduced that 1 million down to 200,000 from our own legwork of needs of the pool. We have also looked into grant funding for that $200,000. We've talked with Rotary Charities extensively. We've talked with the Community Foundation. We've talked with North Sky Nonprofit Network. They all are in great support of helping us get grant money for these pool upgrades that are needed. On the operational side, Chris Erickson has been in talks, along with Chris Maxbauer in the last couple of weeks, with the YMCA to have them take over operations and management of the pool, something they do very well. They know pools, and they could do a great job running this pool for us. So these 2 issues, even though they are separate, they are kind of tied together. Jay Buckmaster at the YMCA says that he doesn't want to come in and take over operations and management of the pool if it has $200,000 worth of capital improvements needed. We feel, and our grant funders have told us, that they don't want to fund us the $200,000 worth of money that we need if the pool isn't going to be around for a long time in the future, and it would greatly enhance our grant applications if the Y was involved running the pool. So, to this end, our grant funders, especially Rotary, and the Community Foundation, have told us that in order to start getting grants for the physical capital improvements of the pool, we need a memorandum of understanding between the county and Friends of Easing Pool. The assistant prosecutor of the county drew one up for us in July. With help from Carol Crawford, she arranged that meeting for us, and that is what you have in your packet. It basically is a guarantee that any money raised for the pool would go to the pool. The county wouldn't use it any other way, And it also specifies operations of the pool, guarantee of operations. We originally thought that 2 years might be okay with our grant funders, but Becky at Rotary Charities just told us recently, she's like, we need 5 years. No one's going to give you any money in grants if we don't have 5 years. So a couple of weeks ago, we brought up this MOU to the County Parks and Rec Board. It was passed there, and it was passed and therefore will be brought to you all, even though it's a little bit premature, and that's why we're withdrawing the MOU right now, because it's a little premature. Bob Cooney would like us to become a nonprofit entity before the county goes into this memorandum of understanding with Friends of Easton Pool. So we have a little legal work to do first. And then we will come back and present the MOU as a official nonprofit organization. You want to say anything?
Any commissioner comments? Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be right up front that given our budget deficit that we've got that we're looking at, to me, the pool's low-hanging fruit. And I think we're going to have to really look hard at our budget for next year. So just so you know where I'm standing on it, and I would have a hard time agreeing to a 5-year agreement. And I was just involved in a 501c3, and it takes a little bit, so.
Oh, yeah, this
Make
is
sure
a
you got your attorneys ready,
Oh,
because
yeah,
it's
that,
back and forth.
I thought we need a 501c3 too, but we don't. I guess there's a
Okay.
501c3, and then there's a nonprofit status with the state.
Okay.
And that should only take a month or so. Yeah, I've heard 501c3s are a beast. In terms of money, I totally understand where you are in the budget. Believe me, I read the newspapers.
Don't do that.
If the I got to get my news some other place. If the Y takes over, which it's looking like they will, the pool will save $100,000 a year just to have the Y take over. The pool's expenses are about $200,000 a year, so that would slash that in half. And if you will, you could think of your $100,000 savings, and that could tack on more years. So I totally get that. Chris Erickson gave us a number. The Easton Pool's total expenditures for this year minus the revenue that they get back is only 0.0037% of the total county budget.
But
So
when
we're
we
talking
start-
very,
When we
very
start
small.
going to if we have to go to employees with that they may have to do concessions, and we don't know, this is premature.
Sure.
We'd have to look at items like that
Okay.
well ahead of going to the employees, so.
Okay, Commissioner Crawford.
I want to point out, first of all, we have a group of people in front of us who want to help us. So I don't want to discourage a group of users of this particular facility from reaching out to help us and say, well, it won't work, or don't bother, or anything like that. We have a group of people willing to spend considerable volunteer hours doing this on our behalf to try to keep that pool open and working properly for a lot of people. And one of the reasons I think that they're sort of withdrawing their request for this MOU right now is if things do, but I think they will work out with the Y, an agreement between the county and the Y to run the pool will be sufficient for their funders, and they won't even need an MOU like this. An agreement with the Y that they're going to operate the pool pretty much ensures the pool's going to stay open for a period of time. And that will give them the time to do the fundraising that they need to do. So all these things kind of have to happen in concert with each other. And they just need a little time to work through. We have the Y willing to help us, and we have this Friends group willing to help us. So I don't know that we need to call it low-hanging fruit or it's the easiest thing to do or anything like that, because that pool is important to an awful lot of people, important enough that they're willing to spend this time, their own time, to help us. And I have every confidence that they will. So I would encourage everybody to just wait it out, see what happens, because good things can happen.
Dr. Johnson.
But we are in this situation because of people that have built it before, so. That
Understood.
could not keep it funded and everything else, so.
Understood. Let's
you have
give
to
them a
Look
shot.
at history.
So there is no action required, and we're not debating. They are withdrawing their MOU. Commissioner Coropa.
I do want to make it clear, I abstain from voting at the Parks level for this. And I'm going to have to say it, Bridget, because I did say, the one thing not to say to the Board of Commissioners is that this is 0.03% of the general fund. That's absolutely not true. The general fund budget includes mandated dollars required by the state of Michigan to fund things like our courts, our jail, our law enforcement, soil erosion, drain commissioner, judges, I mean, I could go on and on and on. The operational available budget for us to manipulate to make budget cuts is much, much smaller than that. So I told you I was gonna call you out on it if you said it at this level, because it's really misleading information for the citizens. I don't want anyone to think that any low-hanging fruit or any item that's non-mandated is just a fraction of a percent of our budget. It's not. It is a significant portion of what's left of our budget after we meet state requirements for funding departments that are mandated. Parks and Recreation is not a mandated department. A pool is not a mandated service of a county. So while I fall somewhere between Johnson and Crawford, I do think we have to be very cognizant of non-mandated services in the future. And so I just want to make sure that that is corrected on the record. That is not an accurate percentage of our operating budget by any means. And I know that people sitting in this room working for the mandated departments would not want to hear that at all. So that's it. I will commend our Director of Parks and Rec on this, though. This board has brought many years in the past to the table that the pool could be cut from the budget. We all agree that the pool is not a sustainable item on our county budget. We all agree that our county budget is not sustainable. Is not sustainable. And Parks and Recreation was tasked with finding a partnership to help us keep this pool open, and that falls on the YMCA. And the YMCA could not be a more trusted partner in this community. And I don't hope to see them just help us with the pool. I hope to see them run programs via our assets for many, many years to come. So I have said to you, I'm the Friends Group, lovely to see you, but without the YMCA at the table, there's really nothing to this. But again, we're never, ever going to mention the 0.03% of the fund again. It isn't. But Jay Buckmaster at the YMCA is, for moving into our community and being part of a new facility, he has really done a lot to reach out. And I want to let everyone know that Christine Erickson, our Parks Board President, John Roth, I mean, they have done the job to reach out to the community, to the YMCA, and try to find a sustainable long-term operation for this pool. And that's what we're waiting on. We're not waiting on 501c3 statuses or contracts. We're waiting on a long-term sustainable operation for this pool. And if in the time before it takes to get that, something happens, well then it does. But you know, we lie somewhere in between that. I know Chris has spent a lot of time with Jay, and I look forward to seeing him come before this board. He, of course, has a board as well at the YMCA, and they are relying upon meeting times and have a timetable there. So we certainly can't expect on-demand answers from him as he answers to a board as well. But thanks to Chris and John for all their work with this.
Matt.
I could.
You certainly may.
So thanks for all the input. The big takeaway I want the commission to have from tonight is that people are working on this. Okay, we've been working on this for several months now. It's still happening. So it's a nice little update for all of you. We've been working in a little bit closer concert with the Parks and Rec Commission up to this point. So tonight's an opportunity to address all of you and let you know that these gears are turning. We haven't taken a break. We haven't taken a month off. This stuff's happening. And we're doing our homework. We're trying to cross the T's and dot the I's on this. Something like an MOU is a big piece of legitimizing an effort on behalf of the county to go out and request dollars. That's a process that requires a lot of trust on the part of the funder and requires a lot of being able to substantially demonstrate trustworthiness on the part of the requester. So the county's going to always have some skin in this because it's a county-owned facility, but there's some heavy lifting that we've got a group of people that are willing to help bear. So you know, I think it's still an exciting time for the pool. There's a lot that hasn't been tried. What you all are going to be faced with as a commission is thinking of things in new and different ways on a lot of different levels, and I think you're all very cognizant of that. So I think the pool offers up as many of those opportunities as anything else I've noticed. And frankly, we're not shooting for the moon. This is attainable, this is doable, but it's going to require your support. It's going to require some cheerleading and some enthusiasm and some real support from the county commission level. Once we have our T's crossed and once we're able to satisfy things like good advice from council and all the things you need to have satisfied to get something like this done. It's a partnership, but as you've seen and heard tonight, there's several moving parts. There's a lot of pieces that could come together really nicely, and I think we're on a good track for that. So we're going to keep pursuing our piece, and we're going to keep cheerleading for the other pieces to continue to come together. And so stay tuned, because we'll be back.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, Planning and Development, Coastal Zone Management Grant Award. And I see Jean, if you would come forward and introduce yourself, please.
Good evening. My name is Jean Dorenzi, the Deputy Director of the Planning and Development. And I have on your agenda today consideration to accept a DEQ Coastal Zone Management Grant in the amount of $95,000. There is a 50-50 match. $75,000 will be coming from the Brownfield Project Fund, and $20,000 will be coming from Rotary for the water trail part. So the $95,000 is a grant split into two projects, $75,000 for the Boardman Lake Trail and $20,000 for the water trail of the Boardman River.
I'm sorry.
Just wanted to make sure that you knew that your partners were City of Traverse City, Garfield Township, TART, and Leah on this.
Done?
That's it.
Don't want to interrupt. I tend to want to move meetings along quickly, it's a nasty thing of mine. Commissioner Crawford.
I would move that we accept the Coastal Zone Management, a grant in the amount of $95,000 for Boardman Lake Trail Phase 3 and the Boardman River Water Trail.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner Kropa. Discussion, questions?
There's no match, just so everybody knows.
Oh, there is a match, because
they're covered?
the
it's
brownfield is covering
Yeah.
the 75,000 of it.
Right, that's what I mean.
So the question becomes, would those brownfield dollars be better spent on another project that we may have in the community? And I think Brownfield felt that this was a valid request, and therefore, we wanted to move forward. I'm sure we all get all of the emails that people want to move forward with the Boardman Lake Trails. So I think the community supports this project, and therefore I'll support this motion.
Commissioner Johnson?
This was already brought to us before, so we already approved this.
This was a grant that was
the grant,
approved for
yeah.
$200,000, and the grant amount was decreased to $95,000 due to a timeline for the surveying of it and the engineering.
So the application request.
This
came through.
concept was already brought to
The
us.
dollars
yeah.
were committed already by Brownfield. There wasn't another use for them.
Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
And the next is another grant. It's the USDA. It's from the forest. It's for tree plantings to help reduce the plume identification for the Traverse City Place Brownfield Plan and also the Boardman Lake Brownfield Plan. It's for two separate plans, but because it's one watershed, the USDA has agreed to share those, the grant into two separate. This usually does require a match, but the USDA has waived that match, so there is no local match at all for this.
Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the USDA grant for tree plantings.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Dr. Johnson, supported by Commissioner Crawford. Discussion, questions? Commissioner Wheelock.
I think it's kind of interesting that we finally evolved to the point that we talk about tree planting as a way to clean the soils. It's something that's kind of an old school philosophy that kind of got lost along the way, but it seems to be coming back and becoming more and more popular, and we have a lot of people to thank for the effort.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you very much.
Health Department.
Right along.
Wendy, welcome.
Wendy Chute, Health Officer, Grand Traverse County Health Department. So I have before you tonight something I've not presented, so I'm going to go into it in a little depth for you, so bear with me. It's a proposal that we have been working on since May when we were approached by Health Department Northwest in Michigan to consider kind of merging our public health preparedness activities. So we embarked on a strategic planning process with Benzie Leelanau Health Department, Health Department Northwest, and the State of Michigan Department of Health and Human Services participated. And what we've come up with is an innovative project that we think will transform the preparedness in our 3 individual localized programs to one regional structure that'll enhance the capacity for all. It encompasses a geographic counties of, there's 7 counties for a population of about 236,000 people. It's Benzie, Leelanau, Grand Traverse, Antrim, Otsego, Charlevoix, and Emmett. And the structure that was developed, and I did attach a proposal that has a pretty extensive organizational chart on it, was developed for flexibility and growth depending on the needs, and can change either at the local county level or at the regional level, depending on what the needs are for staffing. But it still meets the unique needs that we have in our Northwest Michigan region. It creates consistent emergency preparedness plans across the region, and that'll result in positive and progressive impacts on our operations. And we believe that it will present great opportunities for increased efficiencies, better utilization of our local funding that we receive from the feds, and it'll encourage coordination of the response activities and resource sharing. It'll strengthen the local response across multiple jurisdictions, and it will identify new models of workforce development and related training so that all the staff from all the health departments are trained and will utilize the same assets if we have to respond to a public health emergency or very large outbreaks like we experienced last year. Our health department is kind of uniquely positioned in that we can rapidly deploy this model, and that we have a very strong program, and we were recognized for that by the other health departments, and that we have a close relationship with our regional medical examiner's office, emergency management, and the Munson system of hospitals. And also our location is centrally located amongst the 7 counties, and we have good training facilities for all the staff. So the goal for implementation is to have full implementation in November of 2015. We will work with Bob Cooney's office to establish an intergovernmental agreement similar to what we established for the medical examiner's office. And we will coordinate the capacities and the budgets. We would serve as the lead agency, and we would have a public health emergency response regional director who would be positioned to serve as the point of contact for all 3 county health departments and coordinate with the state. The direction to this director will come from a combination of 3 health officers and 2 medical directors that provide oversight to the 3 different health departments. And the initial direction and logistical coordination we know will require some additional financial assistance. We've already written for a health innovation grant, and we'll hear in the next couple weeks about that. Mike Leahy, who is our current emergency preparedness coordinator, is the one who's kind of put together these proposals, been working with the 3 different health departments, and also wrote the grant with some assistance from myself. And we think this will really keep us as a premier public health department in the state. The state is watching this closely. They're very interested. They want us to pilot this so they can possibly roll it out to other regions. So I have before you tonight some proposed staffing changes. And this is kind of the first step for allowing us to finalize our logistics budget and a staffing budget. We have a very good start right now, and the plan would be to incorporate these changes into our intergovernmental agreement. What it involves is the reclassification of the current emergency preparedness coordinator, kind of leaving that position vacant, not filling it, but adding a new position classification of Regional Public Health Emergency Preparedness Director. That's a mouthful, I know. We call it FEP. And we did submit the job asking questionnaire to Human Resources. When they graded it, they believed it should be a level K, but they didn't account for the fact that it would require a master's degree. So once you take that into effect, I looked at it and scored it, and I believe it now scores in the level L. Dean is in support of this. It's consistent with what our other directors are at the health department in the community health program. It is a unique position since it's a regional. I don't know that we really have anything. I'm not aware of all the positions in the county, but it is a little bit unique. And due to the amount of work that Mike has already completed, he's been working at this since May, I am asking that it could be retroactive to August 1st to account for some of that extra work. And then the second change I'm proposing is to increase the program support, so our administrative secretary hours from 37.5 to 40 hours a week. This would be going against our preparedness budget, and that would be effective the first pay period of October. We have somebody new in that position. We were fortunate, Bonnie was not fortunate, that Lana Payne from the clerk's office has been with the health department for 2 weeks, and she's doing a fabulous job, so we're looking to increase her hours. So kind of the bottom line on the budget, because I know that's a concern, and it's always a concern for me, is there won't be any increase to our budget, because this will be essentially some staff shifting, as one health department will be giving up their emergency preparedness coordinator, so it'll be kind of a combination of staffing with our person taking the lead. It's primarily, federally funded. There are requirements for a local match, and we match that in indirect dollars typically. Some health departments do it in staffing from like the health officer or community health, director, staff that already have to be there. So a big part, and I want to say this, of why we were approached to do this is because of our current emergency preparedness coordinator. Mike has a master's degree in public health emergency preparedness. He brought experience to us from a larger health department where he did preparedness, Columbus, Ohio, where there happens to be a school that we won't name. And he's already been recognized nationally for some of his efforts, things that he's done for our county. And so we're looking to kind of bring some of those best practices to the whole region. And so that's why there was interest. With that, I'll take any questions.
Before questions, I would like to have a motion for, there is one.
Okay. I would move to support the creation of a regional PHEP program and GTCHD taking the lead and drafting an intergovernmental agreement to be presented to the board in October.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner Wheelock.
Are we going to handle this in 3 separate pieces, or are we going to do it all at once?
It looks like they're asking for 3 separate things.
Okay. Commissioner Kropa, you had your hand up?
Having a hard time grasping this. Why now? Why the timeline on having to
Why?
do this?
So each health department throughout the state that gets this funding has an emergency preparedness coordinator. The one at Health Department Northwest is retiring and leaving the position. So we have this Northern Michigan Public Health Alliance is something we've been working on for the past couple of years. We have a memorandum of understanding. We coordinate on lots of different grants. And so this sort of was this might be an opportunity to collaborate, because some of the plans we feel can be written, one giant plan that covers the region with annexes that are specific to each county. So each county's specific considerations will still be there, but some of the work we think will be lessened, and so we think that 2 positions can absorb what 3 have currently been doing.
So is this growing our Grand Traverse County Health Department?
Kind of not. It's
That's where I'm
shifting.
having a hard time supporting this right now.
It's not really growing our staff, it's growing our responsibilities, and it's combining efforts with 2 other health departments. We're certainly not looking to become a regional health department, but there are certain programs throughout the state that it makes sense to take a regional approach on, and this is one of them.
I am concerned about the move to a regional health department. I don't think Grand Traverse County has any business taking on other counties' businesses right now. And we all know the community mental health agreement and situation, and how, because we carry such a large pension debt on our employees, it translates to a larger piece of the pie when we regionally cooperate on some sort of group thing like that. I would assume our health department may carry the same issues, and therefore Grand Traverse County would end up being a giant piece of a pie in a regional health department that doesn't carry the weight.
Yeah, part of why we formed the Northern Michigan Public Health Alliance was to avoid becoming regional health departments. There was talk of it a couple years ago. But there are certain things that it does make sense. And all the health officers worked with the state, and they, I think, finally agreed that regionalizing health departments didn't make a lot of sense because they're all structured differently, and we all, we're so closely aligned with other county departments here. We have a very strong connection, where others are made up of districts and have a little bit different setup. So that's something I certainly am not looking to become in any way, shape, or form.
This step in the ladder to the regional health department.
No.
Okay.
This actually should help us. It'll actually support maybe a little bit more of FTEs of our staff by shifting some of the money from the other health departments to us, but it's kind of like a kaleidoscope with a 3-way shift.
It's a very confusing prospect.
We went through several iterations of our strategic planning process, and then the state was present for part of it. And we've had our finance people and the health officers and the emergency preparedness coordinators involved. We've gone down to actually detailing and itemizing. Mike has the actual work for each position, each task that's required by the grant. That's part of that package. And we know it's feasible, and we really think we can make this work.
Commissioner Wheelock.
I'm a little confused. You talk about 3 county health departments, but then you talk about 5 counties.
I'm sorry, it's 7 counties. It's 3 health departments, but 2 are district health departments. So one has 2 counties, one has 4 counties, and we're a single county.
Okay, so I was just confused by the fact we had 7 counties and only 3 health departments. I have to tell you, I get a real bad taste in my mouth every time I say collaboration and regionalization, because we've had so many bad experiences with trying to do things regionally, and the end result doesn't save us any money. It causes us more work, and we don't get as good a service to our local community, and that bothers me. Emergency preparedness is another, probably a little bit easier for me to bite off because of the fact that when a snowstorm blizzard comes through here or a windstorm comes through here, it not only affects the people in Grand Traverse County, but it affects us regionally. So, I have a little problem with, a little better feel for that. But, anytime we talk about regionalization, I get real nervous around the edges, just because my past history tells me that it never saves us any money. Doesn't save Grand Traverse County more money. We end up providing more services to a larger group of people, but it doesn't benefit the people in Grand Traverse County more.
I do want to specify we will not be providing services to the other county residents. That'll still be done at their local level. It'll be the oversight and direction of creating the plans so that they can operate them in their counties, so that they can operate points of dispensing, and so that we all have consistent assets, which are medical products or whatever we need to dispense, whether it's mass medicine or mass vaccines that come from the state or the CDC. So it's more about a regional planning approach. I specifically never use the word regionalization in there because I feel the same way, but we do think that this is something that we can do with a regional approach that actually will be more efficient and better for all of us.
Dr. Lathrop.
if we were to commit to this, how could we get out of it if we didn't like it a year from now?
Well, we can have the intergovernmental agreement drafted so that we do it for a year and all three assess whether or not they want to continue the collaboration.
Dr. Johnson?
If we don't go with this, what are we going to see in the county?
Same good emergency preparedness. This is different from emergency management, so keep that in mind. It's specific to public health, the same that you've already seen.
Dean?
I'll be brief. We actually have quite a few intergovernmental agreements. Most of our agreements with our court, circuit, and district court are intergovernmental agreements. The recently, the arrangement that we have with 2 other counties for the medical examiner is a good example of a very successful one that Wendy helped put together. And this, in terms of the revenue sharing that we're receiving now, the dashboard that we have to create for the state, we have to show that we're looking at things like this, so we get extra points for that when we update that dashboard. So, we want to continue to receive the state revenue sharing, and this is one thing that will help us do that. So,
Bob, what do you think of this arrangement? Have you looked it over? And
we haven't got, that's the next step.
I was not approached about it. I do agree with Dean about the fact that, especially with the medical care or medical examiner agreement that we reached, it really made sense to have a bigger region because it's just not profitable for a doctor to take on that responsibility. And so I don't know if this is a similar situation, but I know in that case it just made sense and it worked out in Grand Traverse County's best interest.
Wendy, is this, I guess, what happens, to kind of repeat what Dr. Johnson said, what happens if we don't do this? Can this wait a month?
Yeah, we do have 2 other boards who are, our next step was to work on the intergovernmental agreement and bring it to all 3 boards in November.
Okay, so if we approve this tonight, we have another shot in November of saying no.
Yeah, if I read this correctly, if we approve this tonight, we're approving it conceptually, but the intergovernmental agreement will still be our opportunity.
I would have fine-tuned it, but I can't get, the new website is not working for me here.
It took me 11 and a half minutes to get it up on my so it's just, it is
Having a
what
hard
it is.
time with the website.
No, but, as I read this, we approve the concept, which, I think Bob and Dean are correct.
Okay.
Because of the specialized nature of this position, we're probably better off to look at it from a regional basis. But I would really want to see the intergovernmental agreement. I think that's going to be the key piece of the document.
All right.
So I'll tell you, I struggled with what order to bring this to you because it's sort of like, but which place to start?
Which is the cart of the horse first,
right?
There's been so much that has gone into, there's a lot of, they call them capabilities, that are requirements with these specific grants. And so we literally have, Mike has gone through with like a magnifying glass to make sure this all can work and met with all the staff at both health departments involved. And to get the intergovernmental agreement where we need to, we actually need this piece to happen first. But I understand that's you putting some faith in us that...
Dr. Lathrop.
So we're going to vote for the concept tonight, then the intergovernmental agreement is going to come along, we're going to vote on that, yes or no, is that right?
Right.
Okay.
But I also need to know if you're in support of the reclassification and the increase in the hours, because that goes along with the budget.
All right, now, other entities are going to enter into an intergovernmental agreement.
Yes.
What if we want to be out in the year and they don't? What if we want to have the option to be out in the year and they don't? Can we have a separate intergovernmental agreement?
Well, I believe Bob can draft it such
do
that we
whatever
can
you
get
want.
out.
Yeah. I want a way out.
I have faith in Bob that he
There will be
will.
an out clause in any.
Yeah, because you know what we got with community health, there's just no way out.
We probably have the most to gain with this, I believe.
Okay.
To be honest. We're the biggest county. It'll help us with some of the surge issues we have with the population that flocks here. We've spent 3 or 4 months assessing this, and I guess,
All right.
believe me, that I don't approach things from a regional level very often, and
I will take a leap of faith. Any other questions, discussion? Commissioner Croppa?
Can we ask to have it drafted with a one-year opt-out, what we did with Todd Ritter and the collections thing in the jail? I don't remember the right wording, but like in 1 year, we'll reassess it and see if we want to make a more solid commitment. Is that something that we could ask to have?
We're going to have to look at the grant requirements and
Okay.
restrictions to make sure that that's okay, but if it is, then that's the way we'll draft it.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll have an out clause in it in one fashion or another, whether you have to serve them 6 months' notice or we do an automatic review at a year or whatever the situation is.
But an out clause is different than a reevaluation period. An out clause is if something happens and the Board of Commissioners decides to get out, they can. A reevaluation is the department head has to come to us in a year and prove that it was a worthy decision and change, or else it doesn't continue. And that's an accountability feature that I don't see in our agreements very often. You have to prove its worthiness after a year and ask to have it put into the budget again.
Okay. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
thank you.
Okay, the next piece is the addition of a new position of Regional Director of Public Health Emergency Preparedness to the job classification plan.
I appreciate that because I've got nothing on my iPad. I cannot bring it up.
Sorry. I finally got it, so I'm not going to mess with it.
Don't touch it.
But
Yeah, or it'll go
my,
away.
Okay, thank
I
you.
guess my only concern about this, Wendy, is I'm in favor of creating the new position of the regional director if the staffing plan is amended to remove the current emergency preparedness coordinator. I
I'm fine
don't want the emergency preparedness coordinator to remain in the staffing plan and this other position for fear that, down the road, somebody says, well, no,
I'm fine with.
we have the opening in the staffing plan, we're gonna fill that open position, so.
I'm fine with that as long as if you decide to opt out in a year, you will allow me to
Madam Chairman.
keep it or add it back.
Madam Chairman, I would move to approve the new position of Regional Director of Public Health Emergency Preparedness in exchange for removing from the Health Department's staffing plan the position of Emergency Preparedness Coordinator.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Crawford. Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, do we even need to do this right now if we're not even sure that we're even,
Well, I think in order to qualify for the grants, what she's saying is she has to have this regional position.
so if we approve this and we don't approve the regional, then we're going to unclassify or drop them back down?
We'll come back to you
I mean,
if it comes to that.
And why is it effective August 1st? It's retroactive before a
regional planning.
regional planning agreement has even been entered into, or even drafted.
That
for
was my proposal. He really has been doing the work for at least 3 months. If you want it to start September 1st, October 1st, I was just trying to recognize
The
a
grant
lot
would
of.
reimburse him back to whatever date we put it at. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So he's not going to get reimbursed until the grant is in place after we've entered into an agreement?
We already have, the grant's already in place.
Okay.
Will you remind me what the fiscal year on this particular grant is?
This is BP4,
Right, so the fiscal year is,
October 1 starts the new fiscal year of this grant.
okay, so
We
the
need,
current.
if someone's going to speak, they need to come to a microphone.
The current fiscal year for it's called Bioterrorism Preparedness 4, ends September 30th. So anything up to that point would be on our current grant, and then our new grants, which are already in place for all 3 entities, start October 1st.
So these grants are already in place and going, even though we haven't entered into any agreement?
They're part of, you guys have approved everything. It's part of our comprehensive grant package that we bring here every year. This particular grant is on a different federal grant year than the other state grants, because it's pass-through, but when we bring it, Dean, you might need to help me out here, but we bring it to you as part of our annual budget, so we're following the county's fiscal year. We're complicated because the grants are on different fiscal years than the county.
Yes.
I understand that. I'm just trying to make sure he gets compensated properly. But at the time that we enter into an agreement and approve it, we approved tonight, I believe, the idea of drafting an agreement. We didn't approve an agreement.
Right.
So to approve it retroactively pays him from a grant that apparently we already have.
It was approved last, probably October or November, a year ago.
So why are we voting on it?
That's where I'm lost.
Well, no,
Well, we're voting something
we're
already
not
happened.
approving on the grant, we're approving on the position of the regional director, is that what we titled it now? And making the job classification retroactive back to August 1. I don't know if August 1 is the right number, or whether it's not, that's, whether everybody would feel better if we made it October 1, because that's the start of that budget year for that grant, rather than try to confuse the state and the federal fiscal years as to where the money was coming from to pay that retroactivity would be my concern.
The money is actually there either way, but
The money
if
is-
October 1st is better, that's fine.
The money is in place, we have the money in the bank.
Well, the motion didn't include the retroactive date either.
Dr. Johnson, then Dr. Lathrop.
Yeah, I guess I think we should remove the motion. I think we should just do this when it comes back before us. Because I guess I'm confused as to why we got to do this now.
We need this step so that we can draft and get all the fiscal numbers correct in the intergovernmental agreement that we bring to all three boards in November.
So you need us to say, yeah, we're going to create this new position, even though we're just approved a concept. Because that's what we approved, was a concept.
But they can't draft a budget for the regional entity without having the approval of the position in our staffing plan.
The joy of government. Dr. Lathrop, you were next. Doctor? Hello.
Are you not?
I'll tell you, I don't like this. I don't like the idea of going retroactively. I don't like the idea of agreeing for something that hasn't happened yet. Are other counties going to be doing this too? They're going to, have they agreed, other counties, to this whole concept? Voted yes.
They will in November.
So we'll be the first to do it.
I think actually we'll probably be the last after those boards. I don't know their Board of Health specific dates, but I believe when we went around the table and talked about the dates, that we would be last.
Has anyone done it yet? Has anyone voted yes to this concept that a county?
No, because we have to finalize the budget to put into the intergovernmental agreement so we can bring that to the boards for final approval.
Okay, I've got a question.
So
What happens if we don't do this?
Who's on first?
What's the downside?
All right. The downside is that we wouldn't have an accurate budget for the intergovernmental agreement unless you basically say we can build it into that with this amount, and it would just delay the reclassification until the intergovernmental agreement was officially approved.
Say that again, please.
I was going to say, did someone else understand? Did anyone else on the board
I think I
understand?
got that one.
Commissioner Grova.
How about an approval of the creation of the position contingent upon the intergovernmental agreement? We will make a commitment that this position will exist, and that will all happen upon the signature of those intergovernmental agreements. And you have a commitment from this board, because we do have to have a good faith here with interactive timelines between county, state, and federal funds, but we can have contingent upon approval of the intergovernmental agreement, we have created the position of emergency preparedness. And I think that that is the caveat to be out, and if for whatever reason, one of the other counties could fall through, we don't know. Their boards could be crazier than us. We don't know what's happening.
No.
And she did say we would be the most advantageous out of this group, so who knows the discussion that will happen in the other counties.
Oh, that's so true.
So if it falls apart, then this staffing plan change is only contingent upon that approval. And that will give you a commitment by the board via a motion that would, I'm certain, be enough for a grant and a budget to do that. And I would think we could probably change the wording of the motion for contingency and make this all just very fine for the federal government.
I can live with that.
Okay.
As long as you also include the increase in the next hours contingent upon.
I agree with that as well.
Okay.
Yeah. It would be, I think those would be, it's a good faith agreement contingent upon. I think that's the only way you can do it with clashing timelines on different meeting dates and board approvals.
Well, the implementation of this is really more, it's not necessarily dependent on the grants, because the grants will continue. It's just how quickly we get the agreement in place and get the boards to approve and shift. So what'll happen is we'll probably be the fiduciary because we're taking the lead, and so we'll get
We typically
funds.
are the fiduciary, aren't we?
So we'll get the funds from the other two, and then we will actually benefit from some of those funds, but some of the funds we will have to give to Benzie-Leelanau District Health Department, because they're the other health department that has kind of this emergency preparedness planning position in place. So Northwest Health Department will end up sort of supplementing the budgets of the other two.
Okay, I grasp this concept. I think
It's not going to increase the budgets overall. The state, it's not increasing, it's not decreasing, it's just sort of shifting and coordinating efforts. The only thing this harms really is Mike, who's done a lot of work and a lot of extra hours.
Well, and that's another thing. We wanted to make sure that he was fairly compensated, but the timeline is not working in his favor if a fiscal year is ending right in the middle of this transition. So
Our budget currently could handle this, but I don't want to jeopardize the whole thing. He might disagree with me.
Dr. Lathrop?
Yeah.
So we're going to be using some of our county employees, some of their time, to handle the numbers for other counties.
No.
If we're heading at fiduciary, that means numbers to me. Someone's crunching numbers.
Somebody's handling money in some way, shape, or form.
Okay, from that perspective, yes, but it'll be very minimal. It'll be a one-time. This is Mike Leahy. You might be able to.
Mike Leahy. That's me. My name is Mike Leahy. I'm the Grand Traverse County Emergency Preparedness Coordinator of the Health Department currently.
So.
My question is, this is a regional thing. You say there's a shift, and then you mentioned fiduciary. Dean does fiduciary stuff. I know it's hard. I can't understand what he does. It's so hard.
I don't either some days.
You guys are going to be using county assets, county money, county paid people to do this, and other counties are going to benefit from it.
For sure.
Yes and no. Yes, minimally, it'll be our finance director, Marissa. It'll probably be a one-time, once this contract is created and we identify the amounts that'll be shifted, it'll probably be a one-time in and a one-time out to our budget. Each county will also still retain some of their core budget for certain things. So we're not going to be doing it for everything. It's just the amount to cover some of the planning and the training initiatives for all the staff. Now, Marissa's time now is not in that budget. It's part of our overall kind of administration. So they will be billed back. The counties will probably, I believe, an indirect rate that would help offset some of that.
Dean?
That's probably the best way of explaining it. The grants allow for administrative support, such as your finance staff, we actually bill indirect costs back to the health department, but those are dollars that will help us pay for those other positions that are in the health department budget. So when you look at the numbers, I mean, I haven't looked at this grant, but we do charge those costs back to that program as an indirect cost. And as long as the grant has administrative dollars, I mean, we will, as Wendy said earlier, that this is a benefit to us. We can charge part of your administrative assistant time as well to the grant, and we'll actually probably recover more indirect costs because of Mike's time and his involvement.
We will actually recover a little bit more direct costs and some indirect costs by implementing this. So the positions, the changes that I'm proposing will be partially funded by each of the other health departments.
So, we have Commissioner Wheelock.
Madam Chairman, I would ask that we revise my initial motion to include the contingency request that Commissioner Krupa advised about, so as that
So your motion is contingent upon a success...
upon the approval of the intergovernmental agreement.
Okay.
So can I just kind of read a motion that I think I have?
Yes. Why not?
Let's see if it's right.
You probably word it much better than I do.
Well, I kind of copied it, but, so I'm thinking it's this. Approve the new position of Regional Director of Public Health Emergency Preparedness and appoint Michael Leahy to that role at level L, and remove the Emergency Preparedness Coordinator position from the Health Department budget, and approve an increase for the Administrative Secretary position to 40 hours per week to support the regional PHEP effort, contingent upon entering into an intergovernmental agreement with the other two health departments. Is that right?
Does it need an effective date for his position?
He needs to have compensation.
So I think we should put that August 1st effective date in there.
So add that back in. So appoint Michael Leahy to that role effective August 1st at level L.
If the agreement contingent
upon, okay.
Is that?
And Bonnie did say it's upon other boards' approval, it's upon our board's approval. Thank you.
How did I, okay, and contingent upon entering into an intergovernmental agreement with other two health departments?
Upon the Grand Traverse County Board's approval.
Has to approve the intergovernmental agreement.
Oh.
Just because the other counties approve it doesn't mean that we have to.
Okay.
Yes, you got it?
Yep.
Okay.
Contingent upon approval of intercounty.
All right.
GT.
The maker of the motion is good with that? Is the supporter of the motion good with it?
Yes.
Wonderful.
We included phase 3 also.
We got it all in there.
All righty.
Oh, we put
Can I
land in there
ask?
too?
We did.
All those,
She added
yes,
it right
everything's there.
I just want to ask for clarification for Mike's sake. So my understanding is, given how the motion read, that when we come back in November and taking a leap of faith that all three approve it,
Yes.
he would still recoup.
Yes,
As of August
For the
1st.
yes, that is correct.
I appreciate that.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Sorry.
Tough group.
The health department is
time
so
is up.
complicated.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Because
Moving-
it comes from so many
Moving on
Government.
to Mr. Cooney. Memorandum of Understanding, Department of Health and Human Services, County Child Care Fund.
This was a memorandum of understanding requested by the Department of Health and Human Services. The reason for this agreement, because they've made these payments all along without any agreement, but it's because they have a new accounting system, and the MOU pretty much simply says that they're going to provide certain services to the county, and we're going to pay for that, which we've been doing all along. This MOU helps them to keep track of the fact that we've paid them money, and now they can account for where it came from. I would think they would be able to do that anyway, but anyhow, the good news is we were able to cut this from about a 13-page agreement down to 2 pages, so...
We appreciate that, those of us that... Thank you.
So it's bureaucracy, but I don't
That's
see
awesome.
anything objectionable about it.
All right, is there a motion?
I would move that we approve the memorandum of understanding with the DHHS County Child Care Fund.
Is there support?
I'll support it.
Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Dr. Lathrop. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay, Child Care Related Services Agreement Resolution. I have it here.
This is the resolution.
You need
Oh,
this?
no, I'll go by memory. This is the resolution authorizing the Michigan, the local entity to enter into contracts to provide the services that were outlined in the MOU. I believe Bob assisted in drafting that. It's in line and in order with the MOU, so we're asking for your approval on that resolution.
All right.
I move that we accept the Child Care Related Services Agreement Resolution as presented.
Support.
Moved by Dr. Johnson, supported by Commissioner Wheelock. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. All right, Child Care Fund
Madam
Budget.
Chair,
Dean has a
Yes.
question.
I think we missed the
We did.
We skipped something.
resolution for State Disaster Contingency Fund grant under Health Department,
I'm looking.
B2.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we did.
I know you're challenged with the lack
I
of...
think Greg is coming up, but this is the required resolution for us to request the state. Go ahead.
No,
why don't you let
Bob finish his section?
All right, let's finish Child
Okay,
Care,
I just
the
figured
Child Care
Randy
Fund.
come up and
Thank you
talk.
for,
Melanie was getting
Thank
disappointed
you.
out there.
Somehow we got underneath the prosecutors, I don't know how, but we're here.
I have to tell you, it just, my iPad's going like, can't load the page, can't load the page.
Throw that white out you got on.
From the family court. I would like to introduce to you Chris Randall. Chris Randall has come to, you've been, what, for 3 months now?
5 months.
5 months.
5 months.
And she came to us from Manistee, where she was administrator of the circuit court of Manistee and Benzie for 24 years. So court administration is very comfortable with that. There was, however, a new piece that she had to learn, which is why we are here today, because our budget is also on a different fiscal year than the counties, and our start ends today. And I do believe that it already has been submitted. I do believe that it has been tentatively approved here today. And I did want to... Mike, sorry. And I'm going to allow Chris to speak about it, but again, with this new system, we went from a J-Jolt system to now we're on, they call it MySaqua. So it's a whole new program that we had to learn within the last 3 months?
2 months.
2 months?
2 to 3 months.
So at this point, I'll turn it over to her and tell us about some of the savings. Ms. Kroger, you told me to come back this year and tell you about some of the savings. So I am here.
That's right.
And
It's the accountability and feature in our
I have no
decision.
problem with it. I agree. I agree.
It's a good chance to get a little round of applause, too.
There you go.
It goes both ways.
There you go.
Okay, I've been here 5 months, so I came in the middle of this budget, and I had not done a child care fund budget before. So I'm learning every day. But in looking at the child care fund budget and working with finance, to sum up the budget for this year, the family foster care has gone down approximately $200,000. So our costs for family foster care are doing really, really well. Our child care fund in-home care components are up a little bit. We've had a lot of staffing changes. We've had a lot of program changes. For me to tell you exactly why, I don't think I can at this point. Again, I'm still learning, and I'm working with our program manager to figure everything out and find out exactly where our strong points are and our weak points. Our revenues are up $40,000. So when I put the whole budget together, including the Department of Health and Human Services components, we are about $218,850 less than last year.
Okay.
That's awesome. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a numbers person.
Don't feel real warm
You're
and
welcome.
fuzzy,
Digging
because
through
all it takes is one family coming into the probate court with 3 or 4 children that have to go to a in-home facility, and that $250,000 will go away in about 37 days.
Absolutely.
You know,
And that's something,
You know, and we've been through that, and Dean can tell you about specific years. I just remember rattling the cages when all of a sudden in November, December, you take in a group of kids that come into the system, and because of circumstances beyond our control, all of a sudden we need another $500,000 in child care fund. You know, and it can happen that fast.
and that's all something I need to learn, projecting those and what may happen what might not happen.
And it's all a best educated guess.
Yes.
It
You know,
is.
it-
I mean, we had 2 children that worked with Star Commonwealth or something.
Need the mic, no.
Some real intensive treatment, that just blows our budget out of the water. So it's unknown. We try to plan for contingencies, and we hope that we're correct. But I think one area with respect to foster care in a way is, I think, and this is part of DHS, and I think it's part of the prosecutor's office all working together, we're doing a lot more in-home jurisdiction, so the children are kept in their homes instead of actually being placed in foster care with one of the parents. And we're having some really good success with that. So I think that is sort of a collaborative, for those of you who don't like it, between all three of the different agencies. So.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the proposed child care fund budget?
Motion to approve the child care fund budget.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Crawford. Discussion.
I think Dean wanted to add
Dean.
something.
Just to be brief, Chris did an outstanding job with this, to pick it up and to have it completed on time. I actually dropped the ball. I should have had this too. Did we have a Ways and Means? And yeah, I missed the 23rd meeting, but I had some things going on. So I did ask Commissioner Maxbauer to sign this early, but the numbers were well within the trends that we've seen now for the last 4 years. And the actual performance, this is one place where you do have to budget a fairly large county appropriation, but it has come in well under budget the last 4 years. This is one particular budget that I watch very close because of the swings and the detail that goes behind the summary here. There's a lot of work that went into this, and there was a good period of time where we never submitted this budget until well after the start of the fiscal year, but that has not been the case with the court. So thank you for having it done on time. It's accurate, and we will watch it all year long. And if we do have those situations where we have numbers that are going to negatively impact the budget, Chris and I will come back to you, and Judge Stanton will be aware of it as well. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Thank you, Dean.
Commissioner Gropa.
Just wanted to thank you, Judge. I think it's important that every department uses technology and brains like hers to analyze their numbers, but I particularly enjoy it in a mandated portion of, there needs to be watching every dollar, whether it's a rock climbing wall or a jail cell that we have to have it. It doesn't matter if it's something required by law or not in the county. It's the initiative that comes from the staff, having the right people in the right place with the right tools. And I think there's a real willingness by this board to supply the tools when we see the outcome of it with efficiency, and it makes the whole county overall better. And particularly with a very frustrating fund like this one, where it can all be for naught very quickly. And, I want to just support and encourage that kind of change in departments. We're hoping to see it countywide. It's very impressive. So, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad to have her.
Yeah. You got to have a good numbers person. It's the heart of everything.
Well, it's not like that. It's just understanding the whole system, the court system. And I think this was the one piece that she had really never done because she was at family court. So this was the new piece. Everything else she just has, it's right there at her fingertips. So it's wonderful.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you very
Judge.
much. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Chris. All right. And backing up, I'm so sorry, Mr. Byrd.
Sorry, it happens. Greg Byrd, Grand Traverse County Emergency Management Coordinator. On page 165 is a resolution that's required of us to be able to apply for the State Disaster Relief Contingency Fund grant, otherwise known as Section 19. Dean and Cherry's done a great job of compiling all the expenses. And I think we've met the qualification piece that I explained last week, the 5-day period. She used county roads expenditures, and in a 5-day period, it was $44,000. So we know we've hit that qualification piece. So this resolution is what a piece of the puzzle that they'll collect on Monday. And the financial burden, it's capped. We spent more than $100,000 as a county, but that's the cap that we can recoup, and that's what they told us to put in there. So it's not going to give us back 100% of what we spent. However, it will offset greatly what we did spend. So that's what the resolution's about.
All right.
Madam Chairman, I would move to authorize Dean Bott, the Finance Department, to execute for and on behalf of Grand Traverse County the application for financial assistance and to provide to the state any information required for that purpose in regard to the State Disaster Contingency Fund grant.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Dr. Johnson. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. July claims. Dean.
Our July claim, September, does it say
I'm sorry.
July?
It says July on my sheet.
Oh, I apologize, I didn't notice that. Our July claims total $13,175,211.94, and I'm asking for your approval on those claims.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Kropa, to approve the September claims. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay, old unfinished business. That would be me. While I can't bring packets up from the county website, my county email is working. I did have a discussion with Mr. Menzel, and I did receive an email from him. He greatly appreciated the time that each commissioner took to speak candidly, frankly, with him about the key issues. He told me that he is extremely comfortable working with all of the elected officials that we have. He believes that the board is dedicated to coming up with reasonable, logical, and common-sense solutions. And the question for the board is whether or not the board wishes to enter into a contractual agreement with Mr. Menzel for the position of county administrator, or whether or not we would like to review additional applicants. So with that having been said, I am going to make a motion that the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners direct our contract HR consultant and the chairman of the board to negotiate a contract to hire Mr. Tom Menzel as our county administrator. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Klaus. Discussion, and we will start with Commissioner Klaus, and let's work our way down.
The meeting that I had with Tom, I think we got a great guy. I think he's going to do wonders with us, help us out. I'm looking forward to working with him.
Commissioner Kropa?
I had a real great meeting with him. We hashed out some of our differences on things, but ultimately what mattered was our philosophy was identical. And it was good to have that time to sit alone with him and talk about that, to see that it was. Especially after sitting at the strategic planning session and listening to each of my board members say what's important to them, it really seemed to be a good fit, knowing how all of you feel as well. So I feel comfortable in moving forward with it because I think we're all ready to go to work.
Commissioner Crawford.
I learned from my meeting with Mr. Menzel that he is unique among applicants in that this is not just a job for him. He cares a tremendous amount. I liked what he said about leaving his footprints and making a difference, a really big difference that will continue on. And I think he has every intention of doing that, and I'm very comfortable with that.
Commissioner Wheelock.
I have probably a little longer history, having worked with Tom when he was at the Cherry Festival, and then a little bit of work that I do with Beta also. I think what I came out of my interview with was, like Carol said, there's a strong commitment to do what's right for this community and make every effort to do the best we can for the citizens of the community. And I think while each of us has a little different idea of what that is, I think we all have that common goal. And I think that's where we're trying to move forward to.
Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, you know, if you look back, yeah, this is into September, but this is probably one of the most important decisions we're going to make to set the future of this county. You know, we've got budget issues coming up, which will be tough. But this, if we don't get this right, could impact the county for years. And I'm completely comfortable with Tom Menzel on that. And I, too, I'm impressed that the fact that not only is it, you know, we were considering him, but he was considering us, you know. So that it is good to know that it's not a financial decision for him. It is something where he wants to give to the community to do what he thinks is best. And when you have that drive, you can't get much better than that. So I think it's a good move.
Dr. Lathrop.
I think that choosing him will really benefit my constituents and this whole county. But there's a more selfish reason. He's one of the greatest people I've ever met. And you become who you hang around. I'm looking forward to self-improvement. He's a wonderful person, and I think he'd be great for this county. So I'm looking forward to working with him.
What struck me about my conversation with Mr. Menzel, certainly everything that each of you has mentioned, his dedication, his experience, but he understands that what we are facing needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed quickly. This is not going to be easy. It's simple, but it's not going to be easy. And moving forward, it gives me a great deal of hope and optimism knowing that Mr. Menzel agrees there are going to be tough decisions that we are facing, but he really believes that this board is going to make the decisions that are necessary to change the direction that we're going. We clearly cannot continue spending more money than we take in. We just can't keep it up. So I appreciate every commissioner taking their time with Mr. Menzel, and I know some of these interviews took a great deal of time. It's certainly the time that you took individually tells me that, and tells the public, and tells the people we serve, how very important each and every one of us believes this selection is. And with that, I will call for a vote. And I'd like it to be a roll call, please.
Let's see. Commissioner Croppa,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Klaus,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Max Bauer.
Yes. Motion carries. We have a new administrator.
Well, we're
accepts
going to
the
enter into a contract.
See what he says.
You know,
Well, we're a step closer.
we still have, you know, and the only concern that I have about this, and, you know, is similar to the comments that I made in the interview. I'm still concerned about a start date, you know, and I'm hoping to, I'm hoping to hear that soon, because
I have talked with him,
that was a genuine concern that I
and
had
he
during the
believes
interviews.
that he can begin almost as soon as we have, to a certain extent, limited extent, almost as soon as we have a contract in place, and he's looking at hopefully around the 1st of November. So I too, Commissioner Wheelock, voiced my concern about that very issue, but I also took into account that if we continue down the interview process road, we are looking at 4 to 8 weeks, 8 weeks probably. So
We're after the first of the year before,
Yeah,
if we go
yeah.
back out and do this all over again, and advertise and try to do.
And I just don't see we're ever going to find anybody who's going to think outside the box like we have here. So, and I'm, yay. Okay, we have no new business. This is, Miss Bonnie.
The results of the canvasser.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Linda Witt must be tired, won as Republican canvasser, and Lee Hornberger won as the Democratic canvasser. I don't know if you want to make a motion to accept the results of the election?
Oh, why not?
Okay.
I will move to accept the results of the Board of Canvassers election.
I'll second it.
All right. Moved by Chairman Max Bauer, supported by Commissioner Lathrop. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. All right. Second opportunity for public comment. Mr. John Roth, the president of our Parks and Rec Board.
I didn't get booed, thank you. I appreciate that. John Roth, Parks and Recreation President, Grand Traverse County. Commissioner Cropper brought up a point during the talk with the MOU about the Y being a crucial part to possibly saving the Y, or the pool, Easeling Pool. Well, we had a meeting with the Y, Chairman and Commissioner Max Bauer, myself, and Director Erickson with Parks and Recreation. And it was a discussion, but I think we came away with some positive thoughts with the Y. And they are interested, there's no doubt about it. If we can work out a framework of an agreement, I think we can do something. Maybe it's short-term. Both of us take a look, see how it's going to work, see if it works for them, see if it works for us. But there is an agreement possible. And hard work by Commissioner Max Bauer, we really appreciate that. But I think there were some good comments there, and just something to throw at the board so they know that the Y isn't on the outside looking in. They're working, and there is a good possibility of making this happen, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Committee reports. Commissioner Crawford.
I put on your desk a folder of information from the Grand Traverse Pavilions Foundation regarding the PACE program. It's a lot of really good information. The PACE program is going to be in the old health department building, hopefully opening sometime next year. It's a program, just in short, that helps to keep people, older people, in their homes as long as possible. A lot of help just to try to keep them in their own homes. So if you could look it over, and we'll hopefully have Jennifer from the pavilions come in at a time when we're a little slower after budgets and things like that. I told her maybe January or so to come in and really give us a very good update on the progress for the PACE program.
Okay. Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, attended my Grand Traverse County Veterans meeting, the board I'm on there, and one note of interest is it appears that there was an ad in the Record Eagle to finally start looking again for more property or a building for the expansion of the Veterans Affairs Clinic. So you received Monday from Mr. Lurchin a note or letter he sent to the contracting officer for the VA, basically saying that I guess they've looked before and didn't find what they wanted, and that the county, we may or may not have some property or something that we might be able to help at some point with that. So, I mean, it's something that's been a long time in the works for this county, and it's desperately needed, an expansion of that VA facility. And I just want to make sure that if it comes to that, we can't compete with the commercial side of that, but if they can't find anything feasible, I believe in the past this board may have said something towards that nature of providing some type of property or something like that. So
In the past, we have actually offered property, we've actually offered to build facility and lease it to them on a long-term lease, and we could not get a commitment from the VA to do that.
We're willing.
It's not that Grand Traverse County isn't willing, the VA has not.
And
been willing
I'm just
to this
hoping
point.
that with that latest ad in the paper, that maybe they're actually moving towards that, so.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Coropa?
I also brought a handout. I'm passing
Every
this down
time.
since I am the only,
Actually, this wasn't a handout.
you
I just
really
printed it.
slacked, Bob.
I read it, I didn't print it.
I'm the only person here that lives in Garfield Township, so I want to share with you what we get in the mail with our tax bills. And if you open it up in the inside, you will see what I really like a lot about this, and it's graphics that show our debt payoff, where people's taxes go. It's really simple and easy to see, and I wanted you to know how they do it in Garfield, and that's kind of where I've come from when I've discussed things for the county. And I did want to say that unanimously last night, the Garfield Board of Trustees in a special meeting voted to reduce their millage for the third time. Wow. They are the only entity reducing their taxes with a savings last night of $300,000 to the taxpayers. They have a surplus. They are 170% funded, I believe. And so instead of keeping that money or finding frivolous ways to spend it, they are reducing their workload, their payroll, making things more efficient, and returning the money back to the taxpayers in Garfield, which I think should be a goal for all of us here at the county. But the transparent and efficient way that they get this information out, of course, it's on our website as well, it's not just paper, but it does come with all the tax bills. And if you take a look at it, I think it would be great if the county had a real simplified newsletter. Maybe our graphs won't be quite so successful, but they're real and honest, and that's what people need to see. And I'm always been proud to be a resident of Garfield Township, certainly proud to represent it. I wanted to let you know that we did have a dog park meeting. Gary Howe from the City Commission and Brian Vandenbrand from Garfield Township, who were both instrumental in creating their dog parks, came and walked through with John Roth and Christine Erickson and Paul Johnson from Facilities. They had really good input. We did select a location for it. It's going to be in the grassy area between the skate park and the Camp Pugsley building. And according to Facilities, it's going to be a great location for it. So we're going to move forward with looking for the funding for that. And I just wanted to kind of update you on that. 8th Street meeting. So I went to the City Commission meeting on Monday.
I was on vacation.
I went there as both a citizen and a county commissioner. And my discussion with the board, it was long. I mean, I was there about 10 p.m. By the time they finally got around to public comment for it. They did have the results of the survey that I'm certain most of you saw that they had a survey that went out. 66% of respondents that live in or work in the city said that they are not satisfied with the changes in 8th Street. This was a study session. There was no action, but it did look like the board is going to extend the pilot for at least another year.
Oh.
So we will be finding how.
For those 66 people to leave, 66%?
So, I did speak as a county commissioner to them about regional traffic planning. Regional traffic planning is really important to all of us. By making that decision, they effectively cut off one of our only 3 east-west corridors in town. It was a decision made in a vacuum, and I don't believe that they considered how it affects the townships and villages around it. So I asked that if they are extending this pilot, to reach out to county planning, people like John Syke, talk about regional flow of traffic. What I'd really like to do is ask them to help us with a Hartman-Hammond. Hey, if you're going to push all the traffic south of town, why not help us build a bridge to deal with it? But I didn't bring that up yet. But it was an interesting meeting, and the City Commission on their website will be putting up the results of that survey, and I'd encourage all of you just to take a look at it and that. I wanted to say I reached out and talked to the new editor of the Record Eagle for a few hours the other day, and I'm looking forward to a good relationship with them and moving forward together. He has researched and looked into our budget deficit and does support the idea of looking into it more and helping us get the word out to citizens, because the paper is a critical media tool. As we all know, people do read it. And the last thing I wanted to say was this morning we had a brownfield meeting, and the first thing I wanted to let you know is that Jean has been working for 5 months with the Village of Kingsley. One of the things we talked about at the beginning of the year when I was appointed to brownfield was I was interested in seeing economic development go to the villages and the townships. And Jean has taken that ball and ran with it and working with Kingsley. And on November 3rd, there will be a visioning session in downtown Kingsley. I don't know if it's at the Rock or the Marketplace yet. It will be at 6 p.m. And it's going to be with the EPA, the Michigan State Development Corporation, Michigan State Housing Development Authority. They're all going to be there and discussing a visionary idea for Kingsley and what their DDA has in mind and how we can use brownfield and other economic development tools to help them. So I did want to let you know that. And another part of the brownfield that concerns me is that we don't see the invoices at the brownfield. We are given totals and we approve those invoices to be paid out of the brownfield fund, but we don't see the invoices. It reminds me of a certain dam project. So we had a really odd invoice this morning. The Boardman Lake Trail that we were discussing, we need to have surveying work and design work done on it, and the total of that, the cash on hand for it is $822,000, so that would be the maximum that this project is. And the city of Traverse City is doing the design and surveying work and gave us an estimate and underestimated by $240,000 and then just asked for approval of the invoice without us even seeing the invoice. So there's only 2 elected officials on the board, and we did question it. And Tim Lodge is going to come back next month and with a detailed invoice and break it down and show it to us. And not 15 minutes later, we had another invoice from the city of Traverse City that we didn't see. And this invoice they asked for approval on is $47,014 to temporarily relocate power lines. And it's a high dollar amount, and they're a sole source. And I just feel like if these invoices had to go before the city commission or the county commission, they would be scrutinized. But in brownfield, they just pass right through in the brownfield fund without a whole lot of eyes on those invoices. So myself and the other elected official on the board voted no on this. Maybe it doesn't matter, but we're just going to keep voting no until eventually we can come up with the idea that although it's sole sourced and we don't require bidding for this, that maybe we can talk with our partners in the city who are getting amazing benefits from the brownfield program. I would offer up another example as the Hotel Indigo. 1.1 million gallons of water was dewatered there, and we were charged by the city of Traverse City for it going through the septic treatment plant. We had 2 issues. Number 1, we didn't get a discounted rate of any kind, yet there's an advantage to the city of Traverse City with this project. Number 2, it inundated the water treatment plant, which already has issues. When you start factoring in the dewatering potential on all of the brownfield projects and the massive amount of water that could be coming in, they just spent millions of dollars on new membranes. It's just something to think about. So I wanted you to know, you're always welcome to go to a brownfield meeting, but these invoices are, it's just interesting to me. And I don't necessarily think anybody did anything wrong, but as an elected official that sits on boards, I find it fascinating nobody asked to look at actual invoices. So I'm going to keep asking to look at them. Tim Lodge, I'm sure, will come in and explain to us. They had some unexpected things maybe, but it's just interesting that we're just asked for recommendation on them and never see them and maybe get explained some of the details. So that, I just wanted to let you know, we will be finding out more about that next time. I think if any one of our businesses underestimated by $250,000, we'd probably be questioned as to why. So we're going to probably start questioning a little bit more and wondering what's going on there.
Okay, and as I don't have necessarily a committee report, but as long as you mentioned website when you were talking about Garfield Township, I'm looking at, whoops, there was a problem loading this page. I have tried to get the county calendar. I have tried, my cousin came into town and who I've never met, and I wanted to look up one of my grandparents' marriage licenses. I could not get to it from the county website. I had to Google and then go from the Google site into the county website. When I did bring up a marriage license, Bonnie, I got a map to the right of it, and I couldn't read the date. I could see that I had the marriage license, I could see the names, but on the right-hand side, I was looking at a Google map. I mean, it was this, for me, am I alone here that this is the only, this is not working for me. Am I alone here?
Just you. It's just you.
Is it just me?
Well, I don't know that it's just you. I have a huge problem trying to pull my agendas up on this.
And then I'm going
I
like
had it up the
this.
other-
Do you have it too, Bob?
It took me an hour and something the other night to get it up, and
I've never
tonight I
tried
couldn't
to
get it to
load
open. Carol finally typed it in, and then
But it takes forever.
it took it 12 minutes to load.
You know, this is just...
And the mobile one doesn't,
Now,
on my phone, work at
I'm
all.
extraordinarily happy to report that I was not among those who approved money for a new website, because I thought the old one was just fine. But what are we going to do to fix this?
Talk to Don.
You need to talk to Don.
It's just, this is not working for me. I will talk to Don tomorrow, but
It has been tough, I know.
I just wanted to know
Since the new
if...
site, just to even get the packet
I just wanted to know if it was
is
just
an
me.
adventure, you know, so.
All right. Notices. Oh, Bob, did you want to say something?
Just that maybe I should talk to Don also about warranties and what we agreed to and take a look at the contract. Because a lot of times we let these things go and we don't come back to them and then we end up living with it.
I don't want to live with this. I don't like it.
So I would be willing to do it.
Commissioner Kropa?
I am going to make a motion to go into closed session to discuss legal counsel's memo regarding the Interior Bureau of Indian Appeals decision and order.
Is there support?
Support.
Roll call?
They're two separate motions.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Klaus?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yeah.
Kropa?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes. Okay, is there a motion regarding the labor negotiations?
I'll make a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing labor negotiations.
Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Dr. Johnson. Roll call, Bonnie. Please.
Crawford?
Yes.
Klaus?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yeah.
Kropa?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Are we expecting any decisions coming out of either one of these discussions?
No.
Well, we should tell the public that, so as they don't sit and wait
Yes.
for us to come back.
We
they
do
just
not expect any
informational
kind of decisions.
Nature?
I know that.
Are they just informational in nature? We're not, okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Bye, John.
Bye, John.
All right.
He's just always happy.
He's a good guy.
Like a lot of other people I know, he's not completely in touch with reality.